Hi there, I'm going to cover the calculator controls that we have in our Infragistics Net Advantage toolbox. When I say calculators, I actually mean the type of calculators that you throw on the form and you press buttons on it and you do some math, come up with values, and make decisions off of that. Infragistics has two calculator-based controls, so let's check them out. The first one I want to show you is the calculator, the WinCalculator, or it's also called the Ultra Calculator. So I basically have a form here that I'm going to launch from a separate form later on. So let's find that right now. So it's called the Ultra Calculator. So let's drag and drop that onto the form, and here it is. It looks just like a calculator. So you want an instant calculator on your form, just throw that there and you're good to go. So that's what it looks like. So if you run this, you can press buttons on it and it does all the math that we have here on memory recall, and you could add a positive or a negative, negate or make positive your values, and it's all ready and set up ready to use. So a couple of things that I wanted to look at this actual control. If I were to go to the events, the after calculation complete events, you can use this event. Let me just remove this because I had an event handler here before. You basically can access the display value. So for example, this dot display value, that's the one that you can access. So after calculation is complete, you could do something with this display value, like you could set it into a local variable, and as you notice, this is a decimal. You could do something like calcval, and what you could do is you could say something. You could do something like do that, and then you could maybe return it later, or return it if this is like a pop-up modal form or something like that. So that's what you want to do. You want to access the display value. There's also a display string, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check it out. Display string. So you could also grab whatever's displaying in the calculator as a string, or you could just toString this one. It doesn't matter. We just give you two properties. So that's how you work with that. And let's jump back to this previous one here. Just let me make sure that I'm loading it up when I'm doing this, and my awesome naming convention of my forms. But again, it's great to just teach you about the areas that we're focusing on, not enterprise app development. So I hope you don't have any forms 1, 2, 3, 4 in your enterprise app. Alright, so we have this form here with the calculator. So let's jump back to this one here. I want to just throw a WinGrid on here that contains the Northwind orders, like all the order details. Let me just set this view style to single band. I want it to be a flat grid. So the other calculator based control I want to show you is the WinCalculatorDropDown. So let's find that. It's called Ultra Calculator Dropdown, and if you guessed it, it's that little calculator that we showed you before in that other form, but in a drop-down. So let's remove that text that we see here. It's like, I believe there's text property that we don't need to see, so let's get rid of that. And guess what? This control implements the iProvides embeddable editor interface. So let's send it to back, because what I want to do is I want to maximize this grid here, and I want to dock it to fill. So let's make some changes to this grid. So I'm going to click on Start, go to the Orders entity, and go to the columns, and I'm going to add an unbound column. We're going to call this Calc. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the editor component property and hook it up to the Ultra Calculator drop-down control, and we're going to do that. Alright, and that's all I'm going to do. Let's just run this now. So here it is. Here's my form. Let me maximize this, and when I go to the Calc column, I click on the little drop down that shows up, and we have WinGrid. So we have the WinCalculator drop down. So let's do like 7 plus 1, very simple. Let's do 7 plus 1 equals 8, and the resulting values go in there. And again, this is just any of those cases where you want to have a calculator drop down in the grid, you can do it this way. 100 times 10 100 times 10, and again the values get in there, so 100 times 5, and again that's how it works. Then you could do whatever you want with those values. I actually have a button here that launches that calc form, so let's launch it here, and here it is. Then 10 times 10. You could do memory recall, pause, you could negate or make it positive here. So again, just imagine all those use cases, like for example stock apps that you can fire up a calculator and do some math on there, like let's see, 100 shares times 574 equals, that's how much money I have to spend for that. Just to have a handy calculator in your app. And these are the two calculator controls that you can use to make it happen. And remember, you could embed it in here, which makes it easier to work with, like on each cell by cell level, or you want to just have a separate pop-up one on a form, you can do that as well. So now that you know these controls exist, go ahead and make use of them in your application.
Infragistics. On the web at infragistics.com.